What's up again, everybody? We've had an influx of new Superman Kryptonite Crisis spoilers, so let's break them down one by one. All of these spoilers are from a variety of different sources and content creators, so I want to give a huge shout out to all of those content creators. I'm going to put links to literally all of them in the comments below, in the description as well, so if you want to see the original postings of these, I highly recommend that you go and do that. Go watch all of the things that they made. Some of them put stuff around these that are just absolutely phenomenal. So like I said, highly recommend you go check those out. So we are going to start and go in alphabetical order of character. So there's going to be like a random mixture of different content creators and when they released them. But we're going to start with Anti-Monitor. Now, of course, I spoiled the common Anti-Monitor, and I think that one is really cool. The ability to KO stuff is really fun. But the uncommon Anti-Monitor was also spoiled, so let's take a look at that one. The uncommon Anti-Monitor, 6th Dimension, is a 5-cost fist character as well, with the 155-266-277 stat line, and he says Intimidate. Already, I like that. Intimidate is a cool keyword. It removes something from the field when you field Anti-Monitor, but it also says when fielded, re-roll target character die. So these are actually two technically like when fielded effects, which means you choose which to trigger first and which to trigger second, and that is really cool. So you get to remove something from the field for a turn, and then it comes back at the end of the turn, and then you also get to re-roll something in the field. So one of them is temporary removal, one of them could be more permanent removal but has a stipulation attached to that. I think that's really cool. If we can get Anti-Monitor off this 5 cost, get him lower, then he becomes a really cool removal piece for multiple different things, and you have a big body attached to him. I think that's a really fun spoiler. I like this one a lot as well. So the common and the uncommon are very neat, very interesting cards. Next up, we have Batman. The common Batman is absolutely insane. This is Batman Rooftops. He's a 5-cost mask character. He's Batman, Superman, and Justice League affiliation. So he's triple affiliated. He's got the Batman stat line, the 134255366 stat line. He's got Energize. So when you roll this on 2 masks, then you will draw and roll 2 dice. So if you miss him and you get him on one of the 2 mask variants, then you get extra dice. That's pretty cool. It's like Investigation, except you also get 2 energy to go along with it. And he has this global that says pay 2 masks. Each player can field up to 2 sidekicks from their used pile. That is so cool. So if you have 0 sidekicks out in the field and you have sidekicks in your used, you can either field 1 sidekick or 2 sidekicks. If your opponent has no sidekicks in the used, they don't get to use this effect. If they have sidekicks that they want to field, they can also field stuff. This is wonderful for anything that deals damage when fielded, like the super rare Thor. Just sits out there, and anytime you field a sidekick or any character die, he'll deal 1 damage to the opponent. It's also great if you want to set up weird combos where you like put a bunch of stuff out in the field and then you use like the what was that guy from the Warhammer 40k set where if you KO'd like a bunch of sidekicks, he would give buffs to everything. I forget the guy's name. He was like one of the bad dudes, one of the evil like plague guys. Anyway, you could set up cool combos with that wherein you're fielding sidekicks on your side and your opponent can field sidekicks as well, and then you wipe a couple of their sidekicks, giving all of yours buffs. Really cool kind of like pieces to go around this. You could even field sidekicks with this and then fix them all to bolts with like a bolt global that fixes all the bolts, the techno global, and then do something with a bunch of extra energy. I think this is a really cool card. This is probably my favorite that has been spoiled up until this point, and it's a common. Thank you, WizKids. This card's awesome. Next up, we have Bizarro Arctic Vision, another 5-drop. This one's a shield character, no affiliations. Bizarro is a 155-276-287 stat line. He says when fielded, put a stun token on an opposing character card. And a stun token is basically your opponent has to pay 2 energy to cancel the stun token or to remove it. If they don't, that card, whatever's stunned, those dice can't attack and they can't block. They can't do anything. So they basically, you're putting a 2 energy tax on that card's dice, which could be very good if they're buying into a lot of the same dice. This is a pretty cool one. I think at 5, it's a little expensive to do a stun token effect because your opponent can just say, oh, I'm just going to float 2 energy. You field him next turn. I pay 2. We're all good. But it does force your opponent to do some things, so I do appreciate that. Again, if we can get this lower than 5, it could be very good because he's got an 8/7 on top, and it basically does prevent a blocker. So this would be good in like a limited draft setting in that sense, where you're fielding less characters, where sidekicks matter more, and where forcing your opponent to pay things they may not have is a little bit more powerful. So Bizarro, Arctic Vision, could be interesting in draft. Oh, now we get to the Dr. Fates. Dr. Fate, Helmet of Fate, a 4-drop fist character that is a mystic. By the way, a while back I made a video where I talked about all these characters I wanted to see WizKids put into sets. Dr. Fate was one of them, and we have Dr. Fate, an 002, 032, 377 stat line. Like that escalates right away. It's like you got an 02, you got a 3-2, and then you have a 7-7 on top, which is disgusting. His ability says when he attacks, he gets plus X attack, where X is the attack of one of your character dice that's not attacking. And I've seen some people already kind of like throwing out some ideas of, well, if you have Parasite, that also can grant its attack instead of attacking. Dr. Fate can basically double dip. He attacks, he gains Parasite's attack from his own ability, and then Parasite gives him his attack from Parasite's ability. So you can double dip. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't come with like Overcrush or like unblockable kind of setups. So you'd have to set this up a little bit more than that, but it's a 4-drop, and that should be fairly easy to do. This is going to be a fun little win condition mess around piece to kind of pair with things like that. I'm going to enjoy messing around with this card. This is my play style, the like put things around and try to make something random happen. This hits me right where it should. And the uncommon Dr. Fate is Tower of Fate. He's also a 4-drop Mystic Fist character with the same stat line. He says, when fielded, place target character die on Dr. Fate's card and prep any dice you've placed on that card in a previous turn. If Dr. Fate is KO'd or that die's owner takes damage, prep all dice on Dr. Fate's card. So in other words, when you field him, you're going to pick a die from, well, I guess it could technically be your own field, or it could be your opponent's field. You pick one of their dice or one of your dice, and you put it onto Dr. Fate's card. If you field another Dr. Fate, the die that's on that card goes back. It goes into prep, actually, and then you get to do it again. So you can never have more than one. You can never have more than one die on the card at any given moment, unless you can do something tricky. I'll have to think about that. But as far as I can tell, you can never have more than one die on the card at any given moment, and anytime you field a new one, you give that die back. But you're basically removing that. It's like a permanent Intimidate. If you field a Dr. Fate and then never field another one again, then you've permanently removed their single die, whatever they had, from their team, essentially, which is kind of cool. That's kind of neat. The moment you also deal damage, it'll go away as well. So if you just plan to like OTK them, then you can keep that thing out indefinitely. It's like a weird version of the Beholder effect that we had way back in the day in Golden Age. It's kind of like that, except this one's a lot weaker, obviously, and it's on a 4-drop. So it's kind of interesting in that respect. But outside of that, it's going to be one of those weird, doesn't probably get played very much cards. Mary Shazam, Wisdom of Minerva, is a 4-drop bolt character. This is also a mystic. We're getting a ton of mystics, which is really good for the Justice League set because all of the mystics that do things with mystics in that set now have more to choose from. And it's a great stat line, a 144, 254, 266 stat line, so decent stats for a 4-drop. You have to pay a lot to field it. But she says, while she's active, when you field a non-villain character die, you get to spin it up a level. So it's kind of like the Zatanna that can do some similar stuff with spin-ups. It also says, when fielded, the next Shazam die you purchase costs 2 less. So if we get a Shazam in this set, then we'd have 2 different Shazams to pick from for this effect. And the previous Shazams were like 6 drops, 7 drops. Making those into 4 drops and 5 drops all of a sudden is very real. And I remember playing, it was like 3 years ago, I remember playing a guy who played a Shazam team where he used this Shazam that like got him actions. And he just like churned out getting a bunch of actions, rolled a bunch of dice, and then dealt a bunch of like I think he was like running Power Bolt or something like that. Dealt a bunch of direct damage with actions, and it almost like straight up murdered me. It was crazy. Making that team a little bit more reachable, making a making a Shazam a little bit more easy to get is really intriguing to me. Okay, now we come to some weird ones. Mr. Mind, Wildlands native, is the common 3-drop mask character. He's both a mystic and a villain. He's a 1/1/1, 0/1/1, 2/1/1 burst phase stat line, so just keep track of that. Weird. When he deals combat damage to your opponent, you can put that Mr. Mind die into your reserve pool on an energy phase. So if your opponent lets him walk through for 1, he becomes like 2 masks, essentially. On the burst phase, so on level 3, he gets +3 attack while your opponent has a character die with 4 attack or greater. So in the burst phase scenario that you have to pay 2 to field him for, he's going to end up being a 4/1, and your opponent's probably not going to let him walk through and hit you. So really, he's just like a 3-drop double affiliated character with a 1/1 stat line. And yeah, it gives you 2 energy if he hits your opponent. That's kind of cool. I mean, it's really good if you want to like Clayface stuff and then pushback globals. But if you're providing a pushback global, then they may just push Mr. Mind back, and it doesn't matter anyway. So kind of a weird one. The next one, though, the uncommon, is, to me, significantly more interesting. Mr. Mind, Monster Society of Evil, 3-drop mask character, double affiliated mystics and villains. Same stat line. He says, when he attacks, you can pay a mask. If you do, generate a 2/2 tough guy token. It's attacking, and Mr. Mind is no longer attacking. So, in other words, you can push this 1/1, you can pay a mask, and you can generate a 2/2, and it's attacking instead of your 1/1. If you are on the burst phase on level 3, it becomes a 3/2. Your tough guy tokens get +1 attack, making it a 3/2. The interesting thing here too is that if your 2/2 survives, it doesn't just disappear into the ether, it sticks around, so you can generate constant pressure if your opponent's not removing these tokens. So they have to end up blocking, not with sidekicks, but with like anything that has 2 attack or greater. So this could be removal. If you have, if you're playing against an opponent that doesn't have a high defense team, this is basically like removing one of their character dice, or dealing 2 damage, or generating constant board pressure, which is really cool. You could use these tokens to KO them with effects that we've seen already, and do special stuff with the tokens, like make yourself KO some tokens, and your opponent has to KO some of their stuff for real. You could play this 3-drop mask character that generates these tokens, and put that alongside Thor, the super rare Thor that deals damage when you field something, and all of a sudden you're not just getting a 2/2, you're getting damage. Though I don't know, maybe you don't, because generate a 2/2 token, I wonder if that counts as fielding. I bet you it does. I bet you it does. It's like fielding a 2/2 token. So that would work if that is the case, where generate equals field. There's a lot of things you can do with this card, and that to me makes it really intriguing. So I'm looking forward to picking this one up, maybe even in foil, and just going to town with some 2/2 tokens. So there you go. There are half of the cards that have been spoiled up till now. I'm going to split this into 2 videos because I tend to talk a lot about the cards that I see. I'm trying to keep it short so that you can watch these in nice bite-sized chunks. So I'll upload the first one one day, and then follow up with the second one the next day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Check back tomorrow, I guess. Tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow. Check back tomorrow for the next portion of the video. We'll talk about the other half, and we'll see you next time. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.